It's going to be the least interesting topic you ever heard, but we're going to see what we can do. For this one, we want to talk about estimating, the surefire way, especially in residential, to come up with pricing, and have it to where it's standardized and you're no longer trying to teach someone 20 years of experience. You're more giving them a software that's already built, ready to go, and you're just teaching them how to measure and then giving them a little bit of prep. But estimating doesn't just mean production rates, even though that is the modern and newest and best way to do it.
Yes.
There's a lot of other aspects to it.
100%. Probably going to ask you more questions on this episode. Estimating, you're really big on that, where I'm like big on process or production, but you're so dialed in on the estimating side of things that I'll probably ask you a lot of questions.
I had to paint the path.
What if you had something like this?
It's going to be a little bit controversial maybe.
When you shift your operating pattern, just journal, brain dump, and just execute what your brain just put on paper.
Most painters don't have the finances down to a science.
Look, I've been here for like a minute. Feel like some of y'all forgetting. I got it high in the city. First one is 17.
What is going on, beautiful painting entrepreneurs? Aiden Smith, Paint Your Path podcast. We're here with another banger. I'm joined by my co-host, Mr. Joel Mercado.
What's going on, brother? How's it going?
It's good, man. We got the silver out today. Who would have known?
Let's get it.
Just by chance. I really like those glasses too. They're sick.
Thanks. They're actually brand new. With age, the eyesight's starting to go.
I got you. They fit though. They fit good.
Thanks,
swag,
man.
baby.
Thank you.
We got a funny one for you today. It's gonna be the least interesting topic you ever heard, but we're gonna see what we can do to make this work.
We're gonna make fun with it and make it happen. So yeah.
So we are continuing our painting business CEO series, and for this one, we want to talk about estimating. And
Yes.
I just feel like it's been relevant lately. Like I'm redoing the production rates here, with DripJobs, our sponsor. We're working together on a few clients, doing some estimating and stuff. And I don't know. It's just like we needed to do this topic.
No, I couldn't agree more with you. It's important. And obviously being in the industry of I got spoiled, right? Like once I had my guys dialed in, I didn't have to have production rates at that time. But now that I just keep dealing with it and seeing people, and I'm like, dude, for the amount of sales guys they have now, it's like you got to get dialed in, dude. If you're not, it's good luck. It's going to be tough training. So,
yeah, it's interesting because it is the surefire way, especially in residential, to come up with pricing, and have it to where it's standardized and you're no longer trying to teach someone 20 years of experience. You're more giving them a software that's already built, ready to go, and you're just teaching them how to measure and then giving them a little bit of prep, right?
Yeah.
Understanding of how to judge the different aspects of prep. And, every company is a little different. But estimating doesn't just mean production rates, even though that is the modern and newest and best way to do it.
yes,
There's a lot of other aspects to it.
100%. So what are some pillars that pop up in your mind about estimating that you feel should be? And I'm probably going to ask you more questions on this episode because it's estimating, you're really big on that, where I'm big on the sales process or production, but you're so dialed in on the estimating side of things that I'll probably ask you a lot of questions. How's that sound?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this question before.
Yeah.
How easy would it make your clients and your sales reps and their life if they were so confident in that number at the closing table?
Too easy, because then it gets rid of this whole, I need to send it when I go home. I need to take some time and spend 40 minutes to build this out at the house. And then, and I always preach that you should be selling on the spot. And I always preach, you got to look at the physical body so that you can sell at a higher rate. So I think that alone, and I hear this often where guys say, I don't feel confident, or they say their sales reps don't feel confident. And if you have a process that it's hey, this is what it is, your conviction when you ask for the sale, you could even tell that you're that confident that you're just this is it. And you pause, you're silent, and you just look at them and you just wait and you go, okay, well, this is what it is. I measured everything. Don't know what to tell you. So I think that's important for sure.
And it also makes you look at other aspects of your business. Like, where else can I dial in? You know, like now that I have this down to a science, you know, what other things could we really like look at and say, let's take the guesswork out of it, you know? And for me, I think the reason that I am clinging to stuff like that more is because I need that closure. Like, I need that surety. If I'm doing something and I'm unsure, it gives me this feeling of like that pit in my stomach. Like, shit, I don't know if this is real.
Yeah. And you start questioning everything.
Yeah. I mean, dude, for a long time, that was me with sales, man, because I would be in like a corporate setting and they would be like, hey, Aiden, you got to go to this networking event. And in my mind, I'm like, I'm only here to close these people and get deals and stuff.
Yes.
And for me, that makes me feel some type of way. So it doesn't give me that like system and that closure of like, I have to go and figure this out and make it work, where I didn't have a streamlined process, right? In our appointment sales framework, we go in step by step and we're just going through our process and we know the exact questions and like, it's almost like that, but with numbers.
Yeah.
If you think about it.
Yeah. Well, I think also with that confidence, the verbiage, when you're walking around the home, you start to speak a little differently. You hold yourself differently. Customers can smell that, right? They could see it. They could feel it. And if they have someone confident in their home, then in return, they feel confident in hiring you, right? And I think a lot of professionals forget about that. It's like, guys, you got to remember, if they feel confident in you, that could be the game changer of saying yes.
Yeah.
Versus the last two guys that didn't seem so confident. They wrote it on paper, or they just didn't even send them an estimate. Like, how often do you hear, Aiden, where people are like, it's been 2-3 days, I still haven't received it?
Dude, I love people telling me that, because I'll be like, really? It takes them that long? I'm like, you see our process. We've been on it this whole time.
Yes.
So it gives them like, damn, there's levels to this, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe there is a reason he's higher. It's funny.
100%.
We got some funny stuff too, because this is what I was explaining to you right before we jumped on. But a while back when I first moved to Florida, I got with Alex and we were working on his business and like dialing in his approach, because he was underpricing cabinet jobs.
Okay.
Like early on, like he was just trying to keep his guys busy because he wasn't like super in on his process. He wasn't like dialed in, had that closure. Well, we set it up through DripJobs. We got his production rates dialed with cabinets, which I don't recommend. Don't do this. But we did it because we were like, you know, trying to get this super dialed. And we ended up raising his prices like 20 to 30%.
Okay.
And he was just smacking and landing deals. But if you look back at our estimates, I sent you the screenshot. One of the line items was like phenomenal finish, and it was like plus $300.
So like, what does that even mean? Like,
so if I could take it in today's terms, I would think that would be like a good, better, best, right? Like maybe we added a 2K, but I'm almost positive we didn't.
That's awesome.
And it was just one of those things like he had such a grasp on the, you know, I would say the local cabinet painting scene, because he's like the top rated guy and he was just getting leads at the wazoo, that was just like part of our process. Like we had a dialed in system and you have to like pay for that proprietary system. That was kind of the idea.
It's like a processing fee really, but you call it phenomenal finish.
Dude, and it's funny because when that happened, I used to think back to my uncle who did the same thing. He used to be like the main contractor for Lowe's, installing doors, carpentry and stuff. And he would help them with their pricing. And one of the line items he put was the adjust and reset. And it was like a fee. And all that would mean is like when we put it in, or if we're like helping or, you know, doing a door, he would like adjust and reset it. And that's like part of the job. But he's charging for it.
Dude, that's awesome.
I come from a lineage of estimators.
Yeah, I see that. Oh man, that is awesome. Dude, it's funny that you're talking about this fee. I was just talking to my wife about sales in the gym industry. And I was like, it's changed so much from 21 years ago when I first started. And I say 21 because I was 20 years old when I did it. So, but anyways, we had a $49 processing fee. I'm like, what are we processing? Like to just hand the paperwork to billing? Like I'm confused.
Yeah.
But like literally, we had a $49 processing fee. People would ask me that question. I would look at them and I would just dead honest tell them, I have no idea. I just know that I'm supposed to charge you a $49 processing fee. I'd ask the owners, everybody. They'd be like, we just did it that way for years.
It's so funny.
Been a processing fee. So yeah, man, it's interesting.
There's a lot of companies that do that, dude. We had an activation fee when I sold phones.
Yeah.
So that's what I meant by like estimating is not, and this is more like pricing and whatnot, right? But really what it comes down to is like pricing. It's getting a standard or a system or a dialed in way to give pricing.
Yeah.
And, we also worked with, I think he works with you right now, Walter, Custom Painting.
Yeah.
So Walter. Yeah. So and another thing is you want a CRM that has an estimating software in it.
Yes. I didn't know CRMs that don't. I'm hearing that there are CRMs that don't have an estimating process in it. I'm like, what? Like, why would you even, I don't know.
That's where like Estimate Rocket spawned from. It was like, hey, there's a gap, right? It's like you got these CRMs out there that you're just adding line items and you're just attaching a price. And that could work for a little bit. But once you get sales reps, once you're trying to scale, it becomes like one of the biggest bottlenecks you have in your business. So, sites like DripJobs and whatnot that have the production rate based, or even something else where it's just like, hey, here's a standardized way to give pricing. Like I think I used an app called like the Paintbox app back in the day. It was like $25. Yeah. And that was like when I first transitioned to doing it myself. Because before then, the way I learned production rates was through CertaPro. And they had a whole Excel spreadsheet built out. It was pretty cool, actually. And that really like got me into all the numbers, and spread rates and labor rates and understanding all that world of things. So painting is the one industry I would say that like is very, very specific when it comes to pricing individual substrates. Let's just say you're doing a roof. There's a couple types of roof material. There's underlayments. There's like, a couple layers of it. And there's probably like a handful of different ways to price it. Right. With painting, I mean, dude, you're talking bare wall, drywall, stucco, trim, fascia, shutters, epoxy. I mean, I could just name 1,000 things.
Wood siding, aluminum.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They all have different processes, products, the usage of the paint that you need for each surface because it will soak it up and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So when you have a starting point, which is one of the things that I provide companies, now you get to build it out per your company. And you get to understand how to build out those rates. And now it's like you look a year down the road, oh, we've seen this surface before. It's exactly this rate that we already know. We job costed it. It makes sense. 1,000 square foot of that, done. That's the price. That's how easy it can become.
I love that. I think a lot of people, how do you reteach that to a sales rep, right? That's never, let's say, for instance, you've never painted a day in your life. You don't have those rates. How do you reteach that? Like, oh, by the way, that's wood siding. Or, oh, by the way, that's a different price for this substrate. Oh, by the way, we're doing a color change.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're decommissioning. Here's the thing. A lot of people don't talk about this, but you're decommissioning somebody due to a lack of process. And then you're wondering why you keep losing great salespeople.
Yeah.
Lack of process, right? So I think that's
you need the answers.
Yeah, 100%. I've seen it, and it's been bad.
Just going back to like why I brought up Walter was number one, he needed that production rate system because he was expanding his team, and you know how he's been growing like crazy. But like number two, all of his jobs, I would see him do this crazy amount of prep. Way more than like typical companies, I would say. And I was like proposing to him, you should do something that's here's that standard, and then here's kind of your basic paint job. Because there's people that want to use him, but just can't afford him, right? Sure. And you don't want to miss those opportunities because you can keep your guys busy. They're still profitable, maybe not to the level of the others. And he was open to it. And I was like, dude, you should just call it Walter's way.
Yeah.
And I think he ran with that. I'm like pretty sure.
He did, because I heard him talk to another client of mine that they said they're going to steal that like name, but in their own name, because they're also really big on prep. They like Bondo everything, and they're really big about their preparation. And when I was telling them about it, I was like, you guys need to have different processes. You can't just say, we only do this.
Right.
Like, you're really going to price yourself out, and you're going to make sure that now at that point you're only working with X people. And what happens when you do slow down, you don't have that type of person coming in that you can keep busy. So I agree with you, where you still need to have an opportunity to just have here and just go, we don't want to go below the standard either, right? Like there is got to be a standard of sorts, but man, to have everything be a home run, it's very difficult.
It limits your ability to grow and keep busy, like you said.
Yeah.
And that kind of stems from the whole good, better, best thing that's been a big hit over the last like year or so, right? Where it's like, no longer do we have to, and I even just made a video about this, but no longer do we have one price for any client, right? I want them to choose out of 2 or 3 options with my company rather than 2 or 3 other quotes. That's kind of the idea behind it. So when we build out good, better, best, we still, like you said, keep that standard of the paint job. We make sure that they know that they're still getting that quality because that's why they called us. But there's different levels of paint that we can use, right? There's different levels of warranty that they would be okay with maybe taking some of that off in order to get a lesser price because they know maybe they're selling or it's going to be a rental soon and I could save some money here and there. So there are times where I'll talk somebody out of upgrading because it's in their best interest. And when they hear things like that, it's like, wow, this guy actually cares and he's not just trying to sell me anything, you know?
Dude, I love that you mentioned that because a lot of people don't realize like sometimes a certain sheen, you don't want to use that in a certain substrate. And that actually happened to me on a smooth stucco in Coronado. And at the time, I didn't know any better at that time. This was years ago. And spraying a satin finish or an eggshell or something like that, you're just going to see all that flat. Dude, it was a horrible job. Even with a flat, it wasn't looking so good on this substrate out there. And they told me back then, you guys don't have Dunn Edwards on the East Coast, but on the West Coast, we have a product called Dunn Edwards. And they had a special paint that was called Sparta Shield VA. It was a special paint that had some sort of different resin in it that actually was a true flat. And they said, you need to use this product. And when we did, it got rid of all of the problems we had. And it's like, imagine yourself walking into a beautiful home. It's off Coronado Island. You tell them, hey, I can't sell you emerald. Or like, you can't use this product because this is what the result's going to look due to what's in it, right? Because of the resin and the paint or whatever else. Like, wow, a lot of people, you go, hey, well, if you decide to do this, I need you to sign off knowing that these issues may show based off the sheen or whatever the product on it. And I love that you mentioned that because, again, that separates you from other contractors because they're just going to say yes and then walk off or be a problem. How professional do you look that you break it down and say, hey, I actually recommend you not to use this product because of X, Y, Z. That's huge. So I agree with you, brother. I agree.
And those one-off cases, dude, especially when it comes to commercial, happen all the time.
Yes.
Right? Like when I worked with CertaPro and we were doing those commercial jobs, man, like I had to get down on the specs. I mean, we're kind of getting away from good, better, best, but it's the idea that like once you start building out this specific way of looking at painting jobs and quoting, now you get to go into what is the unknown and give your best guess at it. But then once you do that job, you have a price set in stone for forever, the rest of your company. Like, you know, those industrial or just commercial like ceilings with all the beams and stuff and you have to spray drywall and stuff. I had a guy that just did a bunch of them for a contractor and he had it square footage dialed in, or I'm not sorry. Production rates dialed in. And he would literally just have to measure length and width of the place, and that was it. You'd have the price ready in seconds.
Do you guys use dry fall out there?
Yeah, dry
fall. Yeah. So it's like knowing that too, right? There's so many things that a lot of people don't realize that could really help you with your pricing if you know what that product is.
Yeah,
and putting that into your rates. I mean, geez, how much would that help you, man? For sure.
And there's thousands of use cases like that, right? So when it comes to residential, commercial, so I always tell people like when you're dialing in your painting business to this level, you now have the answers, right? So like when somebody comes in and says, hey, Aiden, this guy was $3,000 lower than you, you know, why is that? You look at them and say, this is what we bring to the table. This is our price, this is our system. I can't tell you what this guy's doing or whatnot, but you get to be so confident, look that client dead in the eye and just say, this might just not be the best fit. And that's totally fine.
Yes. Couldn't agree more. I don't know if you noticed, while you were talking earlier, I sent you a link.
What was it?
I sent you a link that a client sent me. It's that one painter, and it's showing on their website what they price out per square foot. And since we're talking about estimating, I was like, "Oh, well, let me send this to Aiden real quick so that we can look it up and show you guys what companies are doing." Right?
Gotcha.
Let me see if I can look it up on my. I don't know if you saw it. Scrolling
Yeah,
down.
I got it.
I didn't read it thoroughly, but they asked me if they should do that on their website. What are your thoughts on that? I'm
gonna pull it up right now.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of having it on my website, but this is going to show you guys a franchise company, that one painter, and it's going to show you what you're competing against too with a franchise company that has systems and processes. I didn't read it thoroughly. But,
okay, so it's the house painting toolbox paint calculator
yep.
and instant estimate. How much will it cost? Estimated range, interior rooms 700 to 1,500. Okay, so it's more of like a pre-qual, right? Full interior between 5K to 11,500. This is stuff we talk about though, right? Where you're talking to a homeowner, you're not just going to go in and try and give them an estimate over the phone. You're going to give them a range, and then you're going to try and dial in what they're looking to have done, right? Assuming that that's exactly what they want done, right? Because there's a lot of variables. And you give them a range. And if they're open to that range, then you go out, do the actual estimate. I actually like the way they have it set up, but I'm with you that, I'm with you that like I don't love this.
Yeah.
And
if you go further down, it'll show you like a square footage pricing somewhere. I forget where I saw it because I was looking at it on my phone.
Well, that was kind of it, right? Square footage.
No,
you're saying like the actual square footage pricing.
No, there's like another box. Like if you keep scrolling, scrolling down, I think there's
there we go.
There it is. Painting costs in Austin 2026 guide. So it says low price 2.5 per square foot, and then it says high price, and then it says average. So they're like breaking down the average square footage. I didn't look into it too much detail, but I found that interesting that they're actually giving them, because you got to look at this. Me as a client and then as a estimator, right? I would go, okay, my brain would go to the average. Okay, so you're telling me my interior is 1,500 square foot. Why is your pricing now around $4 a square foot when it says average is 3.75 or whatever, right? Like, I wonder how they combat that. Or is this like a guaranteed price that they're showing their customers based off their website that when they show up, here's our guaranteed pricing? I'm just very curious. It's
here's the thing. And I actually like think about stuff like this a lot because I talk about a funnel, right? How like you get to manipulate your funnel depending on one, the results, right? Two, but like how your business is structured. And for me, I love getting a lot of leads and then limiting only a few coming out the bottom, right?
Yeah.
The few that I know have seen our before the estimate video, what to expect. Have seen our website, have looked and done the research. I know when we show up, the chances of us getting that job go so higher up, and we're going to be efficient with the way we're doing things. So for them, they've probably got a lock on marketing, getting those leads in the door. And now they're saying, hey, let's add another element. Maybe they're testing it, but maybe they're adding that element to say like, we want to set expectations with people when they come through the door or when they're looking to work with us already. So, hey, have you seen our pricing guide online? Oh, yeah, I have. It said blah, blah, blah. Now you're in a different talking space with them because we talked about it before. Paint Scout had that interview with like the top rep. And he said that he would literally talk to the client. If he had any inclination that they may be like a little price hesitant, he would just tell him like, dude, you're going to be around like 9,000 to 11,000 for this.
Yeah.
Now it's like, and it's essentially doing the same thing without going out there.
Yeah.
You know,
I could see that now. I didn't spend a lot of time on it. That's why I was like, this is a good topic today to look at that and see.
That was perfect, actually.
Is. Yeah.
There's a couple companies that have that on there.
Okay.
I've seen.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. So that was the first time for me to see it. And they have like 700 locations across the US. So it's like,
right. It's got to work.
I figured I'd throw it out there, right? Because obviously, if they're doing it, something's working out.
And here's the thing with the franchise game. It's not like you can just individually make changes like that to the website and not get approval and stuff. So like this might be something that they said, hey, this helps us. This works. Let's adopt it, run it. Maybe a certain locations or whatever the case may be. But typically when you see it on one, most of the others have it as well.
Right. Well, I think what's nice about this is a good time to shout out Roadmap. If you guys realize this is what you're going to learn in Roadmap is mapping out your business through every speaker, really. And then obviously Aiden and his team are going to break you guys down. So if you haven't gotten your tickets yet, you got to get locked in. We're like almost less than a month. By the time you guys hear this, we're a month away from Roadmap. So let's get you guys locked in. I had to just give you the plug.
No, for sure, man. I mean, look, we're definitely not going to be tinkering with production rates at this thing, right? But what we will be doing is giving you the understanding of here are all the boxes you have to check to make sure you accomplish the goal we help you set up, right? And if that means, delegating tasks that may be bogging you down and preventing you from getting there, we're going to focus on that. If that means going through some of the software and the things that you have set up in your business that may be hurting your chances of getting leads and pre-qualifying stuff like that, that's what we're going to focus on. So we're going to cover a lot of base, but at the end of the day, we want everybody to get to the same point, right? Dialed in with their estimating, software dialed in, sales dialed in, like all these different aspects of the business, and then tell you, have all that set up, but here's what you should be doing in the business every single day. So plus filling out our planner that we're going to do for everyone there. That's going to be sick. Roadmap 2027. Go to roadmap.paintprocoaching.com if you're interested. Love to see you there.
Let's go.
Yeah. So estimating, man, it's been such a fun thing for me to do because I get to also look across all of the different areas, and I found some commonalities actually between the different regions. Yeah. So it's funny. Don't worry about what other people are quoting. That's the number one piece of advice I could give you, because it's going to be way different in California and New York than it is for Montana and Florida, right? Like these are all just so different types of areas that, number one, competition does play a role. I will tell you that, because in Florida,
man,
specifically Florida,
everywhere, dude.
We got painters everywhere. California does as well.
Yeah.
But it only matters.
Florida's more, dude. For some reason.
Yeah. Florida is more.
Yeah. You guys got one on every corner.
It matters, but it also matters how much value you're bringing to the table, right? Yeah. Because if you aren't the premium option with like 100 plus reviews, the built out website, social media going crazy, the ads dialed in, you're going to show up and you might be higher, right? Or you might be reasonably priced, but they won't be going with you because you don't have all that built out.
Yep.
Whereas if I go to the quote and I'm a little bit higher than you, they're going to give me every reason why they want to move forward with me because we have that built out.
Yeah.
So that becomes kind of the foundation. And we've seen that the more value you add and the foundation you lay, your price goes up. So if you're trying to bid with this other company that you asked about bids, but you don't have all this stuff dialed in, you're going to be very, very discouraged.
Yeah.
Simply put.
I couldn't agree more with you. And I think people need to get in the mindset of dialing in more and more. Like, look at, like, literally today, once you get off this podcast, guys, like when you're listening to us, literally go evaluate how you write your estimates. What descriptions do you have there? I teach people, hey, you should be speaking to the painter, not the customer. Because if you could speak to the painter on what to do, the customer understands exactly what to do and what they're getting out of it. So when you're that detailed and that focused on your stuff, it will help you past any other guy that's out there. And it's all about the details. I really, truly believe that. So I'm with you on that.
Dude, I talked to a client, not a client actually. It was like a group call, and I was asking him, like, how do you bid your jobs? And he goes, well, I take photos, do the walkthrough, get the measurements, whatever the case may be. And then I send everything to my sub or a few subs. And I basically said, and he said, whoever has the lowest price usually gives it to. And I said, man, you're leaving the pricing and success of your company in the hands of these other guys.
Yes.
man, that's a tough way to run business, right?
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you had your own pricing dialed in, which I can even give you guys a framework for the people listening, if you had your own pricing dialed in, now you approach these subs and say, hey, here's what you're going to make a day. This is what we talked about last pod, 2 pods ago. Here's, you don't have to break this all down, but if you had to, here is your kind of payout. This is how long it should take. Yep. Here's your expected payout and per day. And it's fair, right? Yeah. And if you've done the things that me and Joel were talking about with like, hey, here's the expectation of like, what do you want to make every day? Now, as long as you're in those lines, okay, it makes sense, right? And you can take a little bit of bump on your profit if it makes them have what they need in order to be successful. So make it a win-win. Make sure you're pricing accordingly. And one of the worst things I see is guys are paying their painters too much, or their subs are paying their painters too much. And now it's just making everything inflated. You're losing deals, and it's like, man, I'm not profitable, or these guys don't work. And it's like, you're at the mercy of them, number one, and you need to put your own structure and systems into place.
Yeah, 100%. I'm going to be real with you right now, right? I often, when I talk to a lot of the clients, when they tell me how much they're paying their painters, and then I look at their job costs, I go, dude, like you're outpricing yourself because of how much you're paying your painters. I'm not saying they're not worth it. I'm questioning you. Are those guys worth the amount of money you're paying? I'm not saying don't pay them that kind of amount. I'm saying, are they efficient enough in order to hit that numbers, right? Because there's people that have crews of 3 that they're paying their top guy $38 an hour or $40 an hour. Then their helper $30 an hour, and then their helper $28. I'm like, dude, you're like, do the math on that. Unless they're really efficient and they're worth that, sweet. If they're not, you're overpaying, and then you're overpricing yourself in order to try to make up for what you're paying these guys. So you got to be careful with that and really evaluate your business and go, okay, what's my structure? I don't know about you, Aiden, but for me, we had an internal training structure. Well, you do subs, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm talking to the W-2s on this for my estimating. It made sense because now we're able to see those numbers, and it translates on how we pay our hourly guys. We always paid X for our crew lead, X for advanced helper, X for helper, X for apprentice. And if you wanted to make more money, that's because you had a lateral move in position. That's how we did it in our W-2s. And the numbers just made sense when we would do the estimate in comparison to what we paid hourly. So that was our internal process. Oh, you want to get a raise? That the next position's your raise.
Yeah.
Right. And as we did that, it helped. We had healthy margins because of that. Now, when it comes to subs, I agree with you too. Is like we talked about that last pod, is knowing, hey, how much do you pay your guys? You always got to talk about their goals first. I always tell people this all the time, because if it doesn't align with how you're doing your pricing, it doesn't align.
Yep.
Find people that it does. It's that simple. Don't redo your whole business just because you feel like you got a unicorn in your hands. I'll tell you what, they're not a unicorn. Like it's just not. It's not real, dude. So make them fit in your structure and work around it, and find the right people. Watch, everything works out well for you. So I agree with you, brother.
I think this is why it's so important to have one coach.
Oh, don't get me started.
This is why it's important to have one coach. And I'm going to make this all, and I'm going to give you guys that estimating framework. So before we end this, I will.
Yes.
I always tell people there's a big pie. Each slice is something, right? Sales, estimating, labor costs, whatever. There's a bunch of different slices in the pie. And our job as a coach is to look at it holistically and say, okay, here's the problem. Your close rate is off.
Yes.
20% over the last 2 months. Okay, let's diagnose. We go through. Your sales process sounds freaking great, dialed in.
Yep.
Awesome. Your actual pricing, it looks okay, right? It looks decent, but maybe we see it and it's like, it's a little too high. Why is it too high? You look at your labor cost. Whoa, you're paying an apprentice $30 an hour, or your subs making whatever X amount a day.
Yes.
And it's like, he's like, well, that's where I need to be in order to get these jobs. And we're like, dude, you need to get your pricing dialed in with your guys and your labor costs.
Yes.
Not your actual quoting pricing, right? So like when you see things on the surface, we got to diagnose like a doctor and figure out what is the real thing causing this to happen. Yes. And if you're listening to 2-3 other voices and advices and they don't have the full picture, and it's like, man, you're doing these things that aren't going to benefit you.
Correct. Get me started with that, brother. Here's the thing, though. It's not even just those voices. You're right. They don't have the full picture. And then what happens is you're taking action beyond these opinions you're getting, right? And you're not following a full process, right? Yeah. Like that's what a lot of guys in the industry need to understand is like, and I support a lot of people, right? Like guys that come to me, they're like, oh, I'm working with so-and-so, working with so-and-so. And I'm like Frankensteining processes based off what people are doing. Yes, job costing is job costing, but you and I probably job cost differently, right? Let's be real. Right. And when I say differently, I mean our process, right? You and I estimate differently. So it's like people need to understand when you're taking one opinion to the other opinion and then you're trying to do 2 to 3 at once, it ain't going to work.
Yeah.
Because like then you're coming to us with a problem and we don't know how to fix it because you've done it 5 different ways, right? Yeah. I think that's important to definitely address. I love that you mentioned that because I'm changing a lot of things due to that. I can't keep fixing problems that I don't know where they're coming from, and I can't keep up, dude. It's at the point it's like, oh, I'm doing this, I'm doing that. I'm like, dude, that's just not my process, and I can't help you if you're not following the process. That's why it's called a process, right? And I encourage people, multiple coaches in multiple aspects of your life. So you should have a business coach. So like if you're with Aiden, you should follow Aiden's process. 100%, not Aiden, mine, and 5 other people. It's Aiden's. And if you need a health coach, then you should hire a health coach. Like I'm not going to be your health coach, business coach, marriage coach, physical therapist coach. I'm going to be your business coach. That's it. So I agree with you, man. That's important, especially with the estimating. I know that to go back on this subject, I estimate 3 different ways. I teach 3 different ways on how we do estimates. And we have a whole different system that we do. It does not align with yours. It's that simple. So that's why I'm so big about when people go, I want to learn production rates. I'm like, you got to go to Aiden and you got to listen to him. And he has a whole process
right.
You have to follow. You can't just take a piece of it and think that's going to fix everything. You got to do the whole play, dude. If you don't do the whole play, it just won't work.
I mean, it goes with a lot of different things in life, but I actually agree with you that there's not just one way to estimate either, though, right? You know, there's jobs that I'll land square footage. There's jobs that I'll land and I'll just look at it and say, like, I want to do this job for this client. I'm probably not going to make the most money in the world, but here is where I need to be at as far as costs, you know, materials. Maybe it's a commercial job where I'm like, dude, we could use that cash flow, or this is going to get me in to the bigger ones and I can kind of work my way and work with what they're giving me. But that framework, here's what it comes down to, guys. And you got to monitor your labor costs as well, right? You got to be reasonable. Yes. So what I would always do is you got to understand man hours, right? If you don't have the production rates built out, you got to understand like roughly how long is this job going to take, right? Let's just say 4-day job. I know it's going to take 3 guys, 4 days, right? But doing this long enough to where I can understand that. Cool. So now three guys would be 24 hours because 8 hours in a day, or 30 hours if they work 10 hours. So 8, 16, 24, times that by your 4 days. Now you have your total hours. Okay. Then you times that, or you add your material costs, right? So let's just say you're like, all right, it's going to take 25 gallons, right? Average gallon, $60, right? 60 times 25. Cool. You got that number. Then you take your man hours and you times that by maybe the average cost of either a W-2 painter or what you think your sub should be making, 30 to 35 an hour, whatever it is. Those numbers combined are your cost.
Yes.
So if you want to make 50% profit, you got to double it. So let's just say rough math, you came out with $3,000 cost, right? Times 2, $6,000. That's what you're giving to the client.
Yep.
If you don't have any other way of estimating, you're unsure, you literally just go in and guesstimate. That's the framework that I've found works the best, because let's just say it does take a little longer, a little bit more material, something goes wrong. Instead of like eating all your profits, at least you're at 40% now. And you're like, okay, well, wasn't the best job in the world, but we definitely won, at the end of the day.
100%. 100%. I love that you talked about that because we do something similar to that. We do it based off materials. And then we also do it off of production. We call it production formula, which is how many guys, how many days. So like the man hours, we'll know exactly what that is. And if we want to be that picky, if we're not doing production rates, we'll do materials, right? We'll do, if it's an interior, we have a thing called the box method. So we have a box. We created half box, full box, how many boxes, and we have a formula that we created for that. So we do the box method on interiors, and that's how we do it. And usually divide that by 3. We take the average of 3 different estimates, and that's where we feel very confident in taking all 3. But again, when we were doing that back in the day, I much measure, do what you do. Plug it in the computer, be like, boop, this price, baby, let's go.
Nah, the setup and the front end work is the tough part, right? That's why people pay me, to be honest. But what happens is once you do, because there's only a specific amount of styles probably you have near you where it's like maybe in California, there's a ton of different styles, but
100%.
For like a stucco exterior, right? Typical. Let's just say you do 20 estimates and you're like, hey, we're hitting 50% at this price point, like an average exterior, depending on the square footage, you get a number and you say, okay, we can basically charge $6, $5 a square foot for an entire exterior. And now that's your base, like not your baseline, but your litmus test price. Where you do our method or whatever method you have, and then you kind of compare that to like, well, it's 2,000 square feet times it by 6, 12K. I'm at 11. Yeah, we're about where we need to be. And you kind of compare it in that way. So when we're doing like production rate jobs, and in the beginning, I'll tell them like compare it to your square footage pricing and see how close you are, given the variables and stuff. But just see how in line you are, and it'll help you out. It'll give you that confidence you need.
I love it, man. 100%.
So, hope I didn't put anybody to sleep on this one.
I think it was a great one because it's like this is a subject that needs to be talked about. So yeah.
Especially in painting, man. We can go deep. All right, guys. Well, don't forget, DripJobs, the proud sponsor of this podcast. It's going to be Path 30. You get 30% off your first 3 months when you sign up. It does have an all-in-one CRM. It does have a production rate estimating system, has job costing, and has a bunch of AI features as well that I use in my business. Joel uses his business and his clients, and we're glad they can sponsor another one for us. So we'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.